Shalom, brethren, and my dear viewers, welcome back to part 2 of the series on festivals and Shabbats of Yahweh. Last time we saw the feast of Passover, the first festival, and we went through the story of the Passover or the Pesach. Today we will see the feast of first fruits or the feast of harvest. It follows after unleavened bread, which follows after the Passover. So here we'll see the Jewish name for the feast of first fruits is Reshit Hadzir or Yom Hanifat HaOmer, and it falls on the 16th day of the first month Nisan, or that is Aviv, during the Passover week. Now whether it falls on the 16th day exactly or not, we will see the two approaches of the two groups in the Jewish sect that follow a different pattern. So we'll see that below. So here this is that first month Nisan, and here after the feast of unleavened bread we have here the feast of first fruits. It is not actually after the unleavened bread, it is during the Passover week that this first fruit festival falls. So we'll see Leviticus 23 verse 9 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, who spake? The Lord. 23 verse 10 says, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you. Which land is he talking about? YAHWEH is talking about the land of Canaan, that is today Israel. And shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. Sheaf is an omer. Omer is an ancient Hebrew unit of dry measurement, approximately 2.2 liters, about 9 cups. It is also associated with the counting of the Omer, a 49-day period between Passover and Shavuot in Judaism. So this is the sheaf, and whatever grain is extracted from these sheaves of this crop, they fill it into this dry measure. So they had to bring a certain quantity to this festival, the first fruits. Leviticus 23:11 says, and he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it. Okay. So here there are two interpretations on this. The Pharisaic or Rabbinic interpretation, the Shabbat refers to the first day of the unleavened bread, the 15th day. Okay. So the first view is this Shabbat is referring to this 15th day. So the next day is 16th is first fruits, because it is sacred rest day. Leviticus 23:7, which we saw above. Therefore first fruit always falls on Nisan 16, the day after the special Sabbath. Which is the special Sabbath? The special Sabbath is nothing but the high Shabbat. Which is the high Shabbat? So he is saying after this Shabbat, this high Shabbat, then this festival falls, 16, first fruits. But another approach, the Sadducean or Karaite approach interpretation, the Shabbat refers to the weekly Shabbat, Saturday, that falls during the feast of unleavened bread. In this case, first fruits is always observed on the Sunday after that Shabbat, meaning its date varies every year. This second view is supposing the Passover was on 14th, that is Wednesday, and the unleavened bread was on the 15th, Thursday. Then they had to wait on 16th, Friday, 17th, Shabbat, Saturday, and they had the first fruits would start here. But the Pharisaic interpretation or Rabbinic interpretation says during this first day of the unleavened bread, that is the 15th, was a high Shabbat. So after this high Shabbat, the feast of first fruit began here on the 16th day. Okay. So these are the interpretation. One says it is this day, and other says it is this day. So which view is followed today, we'll see. This debate is also significant in Christianity because Yeshua's resurrection is linked to first fruits, that we see below in 1 Corinthians 15:20 says, but now is Christ risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. So he was the first fruit of them that slept. So since the New Testament states Jesus rose on the first day of the week, that is on the Sunday after the Shabbat, that is a Saturday, some Christians see this as aligning with the Sadducean view, placing first fruits on the Sunday after the Shabbat. So some Christians believe in this Sadducean's view that it falls on a Sunday, but some believe no, it falls on the day after the first day of the unleavened bread, that is on the 16th. So these above are the two views. Leviticus 23:12 says, and ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year for the burnt offering unto the Lord. 23 verse 13 says, and the meat offering thereof shall be a 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savour, pleasant smell, pleasant odour. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of the hin, the fourth part of a liquid measure. Leviticus 23:14 says, Ye shall eat neither bread nor parched. Parched is roasted corn, no green corn, no field orchards or the fruit trees of the field, until the same day that ye have brought the offering unto the Lord. So you are not supposed to eat anything until you first bring it to the Lord. It shall be a statute, a custom, or a manner forever throughout the generations in all your dwellings. So here we saw above the feast of first fruits. One approach was after the first day of the unleavened bread, that is after the 15th day of Nisan, that is the 16th day, and the other approach is during the unleavened bread festival, the first Shabbat that took place after that Shabbat is the festival of first fruits. So now we'll see the next festival after first fruits, Shavuot, also called Pentecost. So it is derived from the Greek word Pentecost, which means 50th day, because the Jewish festival is held 50 days from the Shabbat after the festival of first fruits or the festival of harvest. So here after the unleavened bread we saw festival of first fruits, and 50 days after the Shabbat of the first fruits was the Pentecost. Why did Shavuot always fall on a Sunday? The counting of the Omer, feast of first fruits, or the harvest festival, 50 days began on the morrow after the Shabbat, meaning after Saturday. This is the weekly Shabbat during the feast of unleavened bread. Since the count always began on Sunday, counting 7 full weeks, 49 days, meant that the 50th day Shavuot would always fall on a Sunday. This interpretation was followed by the Sadducees, the Samaritans, and some modern Karaite Jews. So Leviticus 23:15 says, And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Shabbats shall be complete. 23:16 says, Even unto the morrow after the 7 Shabbats shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. 23:17 says, Ye shall bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flour, and they shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. 23:18 says, And ye shall offer with the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offering, even an offering made by fire, sweet savour unto the Lord. 23:19 says, Then ye shall sacrifice 1 kid, 1 he goat of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year for a sacrifice of peace offering. Leviticus 23:20 says, And the priest shall wave them with the bread of the first fruit for a wave offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs. They shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. Leviticus 23:21 says, And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day, that it may be a holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwelling throughout your generation. So you shall do no servile work, you shall do no act of employment or labor on that day. Leviticus 23:22 says, And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not make clean riddance. Riddance is, thou shalt not consume of the corners of thy field when thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and to the stranger. I am the Lord your God. So this was the instruction given to the Jews during the festival of Shavuot or the Pentecost. And then we'll see following that is the Feast of Trumpets or Rosh Hashanah. So the biblical name of the Feast of Trumpets is Yom Teruah, which means the day of trumpet blasting or the day of shouting. In later Jewish tradition it became known as Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. So here we see this Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah falls on the 7th month of Tishri. Leviticus 23:23 says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, verse 24 says, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month of the first day of the month shall be a Shabbat, a memorial of blowing the trumpets, a holy convocation. Verse 25 says, Ye shall do no servile work, no work of labor therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. The above was talking about annual Shabbat, not weekly Shabbat. And other places in scripture, in Numbers chapter 29 verse 1 says, In the 7th month of the first day of the month, ye shall have a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work. It is a day of blowing the trumpets unto you. In Hebrew, Rosh Hashanah means the head of the year. It is also called the year of trumpets. The blowing of the ram's horn, a shofar, proclaims the Rosh Hashanah. So this is the shofar. It proclaims Rosh Hashanah and summons the Jews to religious services. The Feast of Trumpets calls the people of Israel to prepare for the Messiah's return at the end of days and also the creation of the world. Jews also use the ram horn as a trumpet in biblical times to announce the new moon, holidays and war. So this festival is also called a festival of blowing of the trumpets. This is the trumpet shofar. It is the horn of the ram. Now if you notice something very strange here, why does the new year align to Sukkot? The first month starts in Nisan, so it is between March and April. So the new year should have been on the first day of this month. Why is the new year on the first day of the seventh month of Tisri? First we'll just have a look about BCE and AD, the dating system used to label years in history. So the traditional system or the Christian based system, BC means before Christ, refers to the years before the birth of Christ, and AD means Anno Domini, is a Latin for in the year of our Lord. It refers to the years after Jesus' birth. Example, 500 BC means 500 years before Jesus was born, and AD 100 means 100 years after Jesus was born. And there is no year zero. The system jumps from 1 BC to 1 AD. Okay, we'll see in modern secular system, to avoid religious references, a neutral system is often used. Some people don't want to use religious systems or Christian based systems, so they use this approach. BCE, before common era, which means the same as BC, and CE, common era, the same as AD. 500 BC, E means 500 BC, and 100 CE means AD 100. The years remain the same in both the systems, only the names change. So now we'll see why the first month is not considered as the new year but the seventh month. We will see below. The Jewish calendar has a unique dual structure, that is, it recognizes Nisan as the first month of the year but observes Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, in Tishri, the seventh month. This system results from different purposes for counting the year. So we'll see the religious and historical counting. As we saw above in Exodus 12:12, Nisan is the first month in the biblical counting of the months because it marks the exodus from Egypt. We saw the scripture above. Then second is this system is used for dating religious events such as the festival cycle, that is Passover in Nisan, Shavuot, Sukkot, etc. And the civil approach to this new year is Rosh Hashanah is in Tishri. Why? Tishri is considered the beginning of the civil year because according to the Jewish tradition it marks the creation of the world. Anno Mundi. Anno Mundi or AM is a Latin term meaning the year of the world. It is a chronological system used in the Jewish calendar to count years from the traditional date of creation. So it counts the years from a tradition given to the Jews about a year of creation. From that day it counts. So according to the Jewish tradition, the world was created in year 1 AM. 1 AM means 1 Anno Mundi, which corresponds to 3761 BCE in the Gregorian calendar. So 1 Anno Mundi is equivalent to our Gregorian, this current day pagan calendar, 3761 BC. So this system is based on biblical chronology, particularly from the Masoretic text of the Hebrew Bible. The Anno Mundi year for 2025 CE is 5785. This is calculated by adding this 3761 to the given year, current year, that is 2025. So we get, when we add this, we get 5786. So according to the Jewish calendar, we are not in 2025, we are in 5786th year. Rosh Hashanah is seen as a judgment day when God decides the fate of the coming year. Rosh Hashanah, this civil new year, is considered where God pronounces his judgment. So the next year is determined on what judgment God pronounces on this day, this year, Rosh Hashanah. Then agriculturally, Tisri marks the harvest season, making it practical for the start of the new year. So then we'll see the festival of atonement or Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur meaning Yom is day and Kippur is atonement. So Yom Kippur follows after Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. Yom Kippur falls on the seventh month of Tishri after Rosh Hashanah. It is the holiest day leading up to and on the day Jews traditionally ask for forgiveness for wrongdoing. Leviticus 23 verse 26 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, who spake? The Lord. 23 verse 27 says, also on the 10th day of the seventh month. 10th day. So here we saw on the first day was of these 30 days of this month of Tishri was Rosh Hashanah, and on the 10th day of the seventh month shall be the day of atonement. Day of atonement means Kippur, expiation, the act of accepting punishment for something that you have done wrong in order to show that you are sorry. So this is a very important day also. It shall be a holy convocation. A holy convocation is a holy public meeting, a holy assembly, a holy reading. ye shall afflict your souls, ye shall humble your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. So in this festival includes what? Reading from the Torah and reciting of penitential prayers. Penitential is prayers of penance. Leviticus 23:28 says, and ye shall do no work on that day, for it is the day of atonement. It is the day of expiation, to make an atonement. Here you see two things. It is a day of atonement, a day of expiation. Okay, and here you see to make an atonement. Here you see one atonement and then again make an atonement for you before the Lord on that day. So it is a day of compensation for wrong. That is, it is a day of accepting punishment. Okay, and now to make an covering. Now for this wrongdoing, to make a covering for you before the Lord. So this was to make a covering for this atonement, for this wrongdoing of yours, for you before the Lord your God. Leviticus 23:29 says, for whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. So whatever soul it be, if he is not humbled himself, he shall be cut off from the covenant. Leviticus 23:30 says, and whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work on that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. It could also mean kill. Leviticus 23:31 says, ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout all generations in all your dwellings. 23:32 says, it shall be unto you the Shabbat of rest. It shall be a Shabbat. Shabbat is intermission, the act of suspending activity temporarily. Ye shall afflict your soul, humble your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even to even, shall ye celebrate your Shabbat. So now we'll see the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles, also known as Sukkot. So this festival falls on the 7th month of Tisri. This is the festival. It follows after Yom Kippur, that is the Day of Atonement. So we'll see in Leviticus 23:33 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, who spake? Yehovah, the Lord. 23:34 says, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month shall be a feast of tabernacles for 7 days. 7th month, Tisri, shall be the feast of tabernacles, feast of Sukkah. Sukkah means tent, from where we get the word Sukkot. And it shall be celebrated for 7 days. Leviticus 23:35 says, on the first day shall be a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work. It shall be a holy convocation, is holy public meeting or holy gathering, holy reading. Servile work of labor. You shall not have any work of labor in this day. Leviticus 23:36 says, 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. The 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. 23:37 says, these are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer offerings made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice, a drink offering. Everything is such thing upon his day. Whatever things were appointed to be sacrificed on those days, they had to be done systematically on those days. Leviticus 23:38 says, beside the Shabbats of the Lord, these Shabbat, these intermissions, a period of time during which something stops before continuing again. He's talking about the high Shabbats. Leviticus 23:39 says, also in the 15th day of the 7th month, that is Tisri, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep the feast of the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be the Shabbat, and on the 8th day shall be the Shabbat. So all the high festivals, either it was a 1 day festival, a high Shabbat, or it was a 7 days or 8 days festival. In those days, the first day would be a high Shabbat, and the last day, whether a 7th day or whether the 8th day. Leviticus 23:40 says, and ye shall take to you on the first day boughs. Boughs is nothing but fruits of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees. Boughs are twigs, thin branches of thick trees, and willows of the brook. Willows of the brook is a tree with a long thin branch of the brook of the rivers, and ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. Leviticus 23:41 says, and ye shall keep the feast of the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generation. It shall be a custom or a manner forever, always in your generation. Ye shall celebrate it in the 7th month, in Tisri, month of Tisri. Leviticus 23:42 says, ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. Ye shall abide in tents, Sukkah of 7 days. 7 days. All that are Israelites born shall dwell in booths, where they shall be dwelling for 7 days in booths. Leviticus 23:43 says, that your generation may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And Leviticus 23:44 says, and Moses declared unto the children of Israel the festivals of the Lord. And today's modern day Jews, see, they build this maybe outside their property or somewhere close to their houses, they build these temporary shelters, these tents, and they stay in that for 7 days. Sukkot or booths or tabernacles, the Jewish holiday that follows 5 days after Yom Kippur. So this festival follows 5 days after Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, celebrates the years the Jews spent in the desert on the way to the promised land and the way God protected them in the desert. So this is a reminder they have to reflect. So then we'll see the next festival, Hanukkah. So this Hanukkah falls on the 9th month of Kislev. It is a Jewish holiday we will see below. So what happened during the Hanukkah? Hanukkah is also known as a festival of dedication or festival of lights. It commemorates the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem after the Jewish revolt against the Greek Seleucid Empire. It is an 8-day festival celebrated in the month of Kislev between November and December. So we'll see the historical background of this festival. In 167 BCE, the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes imposed Greek culture on the Jews, banned the Torah observance, and desecrated the temple by sacrificing a pig on the altar and dedicating it to Zeus. So this king was a pagan king who introduced the Greek culture and banned his Torah, the Jewish culture, and he sacrificed a pig in this temple and desecrated the temple and dedicated it to his god Zeus. This led to the Maccabean revolt led by Judah Maccabee and his brothers. After 3 years of war, the Jews recaptured Jerusalem and the second temple in 160 BC, that is before the birth of Christ. So what was the miracle? When the Maccabees sought to rededicate the temple, they needed pure olive oil to light the menorah, temple lampstand. They found only one small jar of oil, enough for 1 day. Miraculously, the oil lasted for 8 days until they could prepare more. This event led to a 8-day celebration of Hanukkah. During this festival, a miracle occurred that an oil which was sufficient for 1 day kept this menorah lit for 8 days. So we'll see why does it take 8 days to prepare new oil. The Jewish tradition states that the temple oil had to be ritually pure, meaning only specific priests could prepare it. It took 4 days for the new batch of oil to be prepared and purified. Then it took another 4 days for the oil to be transported and sanctified for the temple use. Thus the total time required was about 8 days, which is why the miracle of Hanukkah was so significant. So the fact that a small jar of oil burned for 8 days allowed enough time for the fresh pure olive oil to be prepared according to the temple standards. This miracle is the heart of the Hanukkah celebration. And then we see Yeshua himself celebrated the festival of Hanukkah. So in John 10:22 verse 23 says, mentions Jesus being in Jerusalem during the feast of dedication, that is Hanukkah or Chanukah, showing that it was celebrated in his time. John 10:22 says, and it was the festival of the feast of dedication, and it was winter, the festival of renewal or dedication. John 10 verse 23 says, and Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. While this is not a Torah required festival, or it is not ordained by God, Hanukkah symbolizes light over darkness. So the conclusion is Hanukkah celebrates God's deliverance and the courage of the Maccabees and the festival of oil. It remains a powerful reminder of faith, resistance against oppression, and God's providence. So finally we will see the festival of Purim. The Purim is on the 12th month, that is Adar. It has 29 days. It is between February and March. The festival of Purim, the entire story is in the book of Esther. Purim is a biblical Jewish festival that celebrates the deliverance of Jewish people from genocide in Persia, as recorded in the book of Esther. It is a powerful holiday filled with feasting, giving gifts, and reading the Megillah. Megillah is a scroll of Esther. So we'll see the historical background. Purim takes place during the reign of King Ahasuerus, that is of Persia, around the 5th century BCE. Haman, the king's evil advisor, plotted to destroy all the Jews in the kingdom. Queen Esther, a Jewish woman, risked her life to approach the king and reveal Haman's wicked plan. Through God's providence, the Jewish people were saved and Hamas was executed instead. So God reversed Haman's plan and the king executed Haman instead. So why is it called Purim? Purim means lots in Hebrew, referring to the lots, dice, that Haman cast to determine the day to destroy the Jews, that we can see in the book of Esther 3 verse 7. Instead of the destruction of the Jews, it became a celebration of salvation of the Jews and the victory of the Jews. Finally, we can see here the festivals. On the first month we can see Nisan. Here we see Passover, that is Pesach, unleavened bread, and then followed by first fruits. And then 50 days later we see on the third month Sivan, we see the festival of weeks of Pentecost. Then in the festival of, then in the 7th month Tisri, we see the festival of trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, then we see the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, and we see Tabernacle, Sukkot, and on the 9th month Kislev, we see Hanukkah, and on the 12th month Adar, we see the festival of Purim. So, brethren, all the festivals were compulsory in regards to observation, but only 3 of these festivals were pilgrim festivals where the Jews had to travel. That is, one is in the month of Nisan, one is in the 3rd month, Shivan, and then we have during the Tishri. These 3 times all the Jewish males had to arrive to Jerusalem with their first fruits to celebrate this festival. Hereby, brethren, we will end the series on the festivals and Shabbats of the Lord. If you didn't understand, go again, because this will play a vital role in understanding many of the New Testament verses. We can only be understood if you understand these festivals. So this is of vital importance. And brethren, until we meet again, Shalom.